Okay, so now, Shalom. Now, I want to talk about social media, okay? I'm not going to say anything bad about social media, all right? I promise you. I'm not going to say anything bad about social media, all right? So, now, I want y'all to listen very carefully, okay? Actually, this is not necessarily in reference to social media, all right? Illuminati isn't just for so-called celebrities anymore. Now, listen very carefully. Illuminati isn't just for so-called celebrities anymore. Okay? Just about anybody can join the Illuminati today. Today. Okay? Now, any reprobate, you don't even necessarily have to be reprobate, but just about anybody can get in on the action. Just about anybody can get in on the action, okay? There are Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter accounts that are secret societies, okay? So, there are people that are on Instagram that is an eye. They're an eye for these elitist campaigns. So in other words, there are Instagram accounts that work. It's a financial payment for them. Okay? Many of them don't even really be secret society themselves. Some of them do. Some of them are just employed. And their objective, what they get paid to do, is to monitor accounts like myself. Now, many of you have been getting messages about your account is in danger of being erased or whatever, taken or whatever. A lot of people say, well, real funny, dude, because you say a lot of stuff. And yet, has your account ever been threatened? That's awkward because my account has never been threatened. I'm believing it's because they want to listen to what I'm saying. They don't want to get rid of this account because it's too informative. And I'm somebody who they want to keep their eye on. They don't want to get rid of my account. Okay? Now, there are spies on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Some spies who are just getting paid. Some of these spies who are dangerous. These spies they range from Amalekites all the way to Negroes. So these spies can range from Jewish people to people who are truly the Jews of the Bible. And they can be working and employed. They can be employed, or many of them are employed by the illuminated ones. There is a website where you can send your blood. You can send in your blood. They'll pay you $1 million for it, however so much money, maybe not so much, but whatever the fee is for sending in your blood, well, I think you send your blood in for free. Then they test you a little bit. And then they start giving you money to carry out specific assignments and to sacrifice people. But the only way that you can sacrifice somebody is if that person not have a hedge from Yahuwah. If that person is protected by Yahuwah, you can't sacrifice them. Why? Because the devils whom these people operate under, these demons know who's protected and who's not protected. So if somebody tries to sacrifice or get a specific person assassinated, it's going to fail because this person, he or she or these people, might possibly be protected by angelic beings. If what I said is just foolishness to you, if what I just said is foolishness to you, then I say it all the time, I say it over and over again. You can leave. Just that simple. You know, when you listen to this message, I'm going to say something that to you sounds off the wall. And if what I said sounds off the wall to you, then you are a foolish individual. Okay? So, understand that social media is heavily equipped with spies. Okay? People who watch celebrities, like you celebrities, you all know that you've got spies on your ass. You 200-300 million Negroes, those of you who've been movie stars for a long time, you all know who you are. Those of you who've been making money in Hollywood for a very long time, you know who you are. You are being heavily monitored. You know this. You can't walk from one end of your house, of your own house, to the next end of your house without these illuminated ones knowing. Not only that, you can't withdraw a fucking penny out your account, 1 red cent, without them knowing why you drew it out, when you drew it out, and what you did with it. 1 red cent. If one of you, whether you be Oprah, whether you be Will Smith, whether you be, let's not just talk about black folks, whether you be Adam Sandler, whether you be Keanu Reeves, whether you be whomever you are, you can't even give your money out freely. And you Negroes with all of that money better not try to come give a poor nigga some money. You better not. Because you're not allowed to help your own people. Why? Because the objective is to keep the Jews, to keep the true children of God in the mud. That's one of the objectives of this Illuminati. To seek and destroy the Israelites. Now, what is the purpose of so-called celebrities? You can call them celebrities if you want to. What is the purpose of famous people, so-called? What is the sole purpose for being famous? And why is there such a price to pay for being famous? The sole purpose for being famous, there are other purposes, but the primary, the number one purpose for the illuminated ones to adopt someone to be famous, the number one purpose is influence. Influence. What is it that you are influencing? The world, the masses, the population of people of the planet. The purpose to be famous, the purpose to be a famous movie star, the purpose to be a famous singer, the purpose to be a famous rapper, the purpose to be a famous comedian, the purpose of even being somebody like the Kardashians, because they were nothing. She had sex with somebody, she got famous. Because of her fame, the Illuminati came to her and gave her an offer that she couldn't refuse. They say, listen, okay, you're becoming famous. A lot of people know you from getting your back blown out. Now, we will push you in mainstream media. We'll give you your own shows and blip and blam, and you will never, ever cease to be famous. And you will live the lifestyle of your wildest dreams. Not only you, but your sister, your stepsisters, your mammies, and your pappy. All of you can live the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, I don't really involve myself in people's relationships. I don't give a F-U-C-K about another man and a woman and their relationship. That's how pathetic society is. The majority of you all are simply pathetic because you're concerned about somebody else's relationship. But why are you all concerned about somebody's relationship? Why are you all concerned about the humiliation ritual that was conducted between Will Smith and Chris Rock? What is the importance of these things to you all? Because these people are influential. Because these people are famous. The number one priority of Hollywood is to influence. And everyone who wants to be an influencer has to pay with their soul. Sodom and Gomorrah is known for homosexuality. Hollywood. Now, when you think about homosexuality, what are the three major places, or two, that everybody knows about? You think about San Francisco, right, which is probably the gay, didn't in Florida they pass a bill for you all not to say gay? Now, and I told you all it was coming. I told you the alphabet people have power. Didn't they just pass, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they just pass a bill in Florida that you can't even say the word gay now? So what are the consequences of saying gay? See? So slowly but surely now, many of you have no idea the influence that my messages are holding. There are illuminated ones watching my messages. Why does that bill get passed right after a few of my messages? Now, I don't want to toot my horn because many of you would despise that because you think that that's what I'm doing. But I know something that you all don't know. I know how powerful a ministry that speaks the absolute complete truth can be. I understand the destruction that a ministry like this can cause from the dark, so-called, because of the illumination of Christ. But what you need to understand is that when you think of so-called homosexual cities, you think about San Francisco, and then you think about Atlanta. Now, I don't know if anything else, then, I mean, the alphabet people everywhere. But primarily, those are the primary two cities, right? Or am I wrong? So now you have to understand this. People would say that the entire America, or not only America, but the Babylonian system, because the Babylon is a system. It's not just regulated to America. There's a lot of homosexuals over there in the state of Israel, more than you can ever imagine. Those Amalekites over there, whom you all call Jewish, which comes to no surprise, many of them are wishy-washy. They're flamboyant. A lot of them. There are probably more of them over there in the state of Israel than in many cases here in America, such as Atlanta or San Francisco. But what many of you need to understand is that Sodom and Gomorrah was a city. Sodom and Gomorrah wasn't a country. It wasn't massive like America. It was a city. Now, there were other things, other dreadful things that were going on in Sodom and Gomorrah. There was a lot of pork eating, a lot of chitlin eating, a lot of hog mog eating, a lot of eating of other abominations as well. Spiders and crabs and all of those things were also being eaten in Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah was heavily populated along with its neighboring cities. Sodom and Gomorrah was heavily populated or heavily influenced with the homosexual agenda. Moreover, Sodom and Gomorrah was a place where a lot of famous and a lot of rich people and a lot of entertainers would take place as well. See, many of you don't know that. See, Sodom and Gomorrah was a city just like Hollywood was. It was a sin city just like Las Vegas. Sodom and Gomorrah, when you think about it, it wasn't just about being flamboyant over there. That was a major case. But there were other very wicked cases that took place, such as witchcraft and satanic worship, direct satanic worship. The worship of Baal and the worship of other things as well. False gods. But moreover, there was a death penalty. There was a death penalty for anyone who fed the homeless. Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities about. Sodom and Gomorrah and their neighboring cities about were so evil that they put a death penalty on anybody who fed somebody who was starving. So if you walked by somebody and saw their ribs touching, if you tried to feed them, you would be put to death. Why? Why were those people starving? Two reasons. One reason was the two reasons were either they were a foreigner, meaning they weren't born or they weren't natives of Sodom or Gomorrah or any of their neighboring cities. meaning they came from elsewhere, and in many cases simply were not accepted. If they left Sodom and Gomorrah, they would starve. If they stayed in Sodom and Gomorrah, they would starve. The other case, if they weren't foreign, was because they weren't willing to do in Hollywood what it took in order to eat. Let me repeat that. If you saw somebody in Sodom or Gomorrah or any of their neighboring cities, and you saw somebody whose ribs were touching, they were touching not because they didn't want to work. It wasn't because they were lazy and they didn't want to get up and get a 9-to-5 to do anything in Hollywood at that time. You had to be willing to do what it takes in order to get the gold. Now, not everybody, of course, in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah was wicked. That's a lie. Now, I want to read you all something. A scripture. Hold on. Now, I want you all to listen. And I'm going to ask you all right now, how many people in Hollywood do you think are righteous people? Now, I want y'all to listen very carefully to what I just said to you all. How many people do you all think today are righteous people in Hollywood? Now, is everybody wicked in Hollywood? I don't know. Some people say, well, how can you say you don't know? Like, by default, it would have to be one righteous person in Hollywood. Well, I don't know. So you mean to tell me you're going to say that you don't think that there's one righteous man or woman in Hollywood? Low? Not one. Come on now. You can't. That's just like coming to Philadelphia. You mean to tell me that everybody in Philadelphia is evil? Everybody in Philadelphia. You mean to tell me if I go to Atlanta or New York City or Los Angeles, you mean to tell me you're going to say that every single individual in that city is wicked? Well, I'm not saying any of those things because we know that that's not true, right? We know that somewhere in many places here in the world, not just the United States, there are righteous people. Now, we have to understand what righteous means, first of all. Righteous means someone who is in union with Christ. Bam! That's righteous. Righteous does not mean you don't sin. Now, I've told you all over and over and over again, and many of you of the circumcision thought that that's what righteous meant. It technically means that you're sinless, not because you don't sin, but because you're in union with Christ and he's constantly pardoning your sins. Plus, you're not doing high sins. Like, there's no way around high sins. Like, you can't be involved in homosexuality or witchcraft or slander and say that you're in union with Christ. That's not how that works. Specific sins of character, Christ would never choose you. Specific sins are too high to make someone chosen of Yahushua HaMashiach. Well, you would say, well, damn, Rahab was a female prostitute. She wasn't necessary. She was used by Elohim. She wasn't necessarily chosen. She was utilized for righteousness, but it was also to prove a point. What was the purpose of Elohim using Rahab for righteousness. First of all, you have to remember, Rahab was a female, okay? Which is a big difference, okay? And number one, she was a believer. She believed in the Most High. She knew that he existed. Third, Rahab was used as an example because many of you all today are prostitutes. Many of you all today have turned your back on your true creator and have worshiped false gods. And I'm speaking to black people. So those were the three comprehensions of Rahab. Okay, but let's not get it twisted. Only one time did Elohim ever do that. Okay? Most likely, many of the women that played that role are probably right now in the hellfire for those whom in the Old Testament. Okay? But why did he use Abraham? Because certainly everybody in Philadelphia is not wicked. Now, are we all wicked as a people? Well, we're all filthy, dirty rags, myself included. All of us are filthy, dirty rags, according to the flesh. According to the flesh. And we're all imperfect. We're all imperfect according to the Spirit as well. Because only will your spirit be perfected during the reign when your mind completely changes over, which is the actual new covenant. Because even though we'll still be following the commandments, we won't be following necessarily the commandments off the tablets. We'll be completely renewed to no longer know sin. That's not the same thing. We're following the commandments, but it's automatic now. It's not. Now we're just halfway. We're not completely in the New Testament because we still know sin. And we're not completely out of the Old Testament because we still have to follow the commandments. Christ said it in the New Testament. He says, if you love me, follow my commandments. So we're in the middle. We're mid-ground. Christ came in the middle of time. Christ came in the middle of time. Christ came on the 4,000th year of the creation of this planet. So we're midway into the covenant. Okay? We're now in the blood covenant. Okay? So, now, let's start with why he even chose Abraham. So, how many righteous people are in Hollywood today? Now, I want you to understand something, right? Sodom and Gomorrah and its neighboring cities. Sodom, Gomorrah, and their neighboring cities, because all of them were destroyed. They did have people in that city who were believers. They did. Okay. They did. All right. But the concept was guilty by association. See, I want you to all understand how, because many of you don't respect Christ. Mark my words. Every last one of you will bow to Christ. Mark my words. I promise y'all. I swear to Christ. You're not supposed to swear. But I swear this, that every last one of y'all will get on your knees and praise Yahuwah Elohim. I'll be right back.